In one of Madrid's forgotten suburbs, an abandoned mansion stood like a wound in the urban landscape. Local legends whispered that this decaying estate harbored a dark secret from Real Madrid's most glorious days, a secret that had claimed souls and twisted memories into nightmares. Years had passed since Cristiano Ronaldo last walked these familiar streets. Now, drawn by an inexplicable nostalgia and the ghost of past triumphs, he found himself wandering through Madrid's twilight hours, searching for something he couldn't quite name. The evening air carried the scent of jasmine and distant memories when fate orchestrated an unexpected encounter. Around a corner shadowed by ancient olive trees, Ronaldo came face to face with a figure he knew all too well: Zlatan Ibrahimovic, his longtime rival and paradoxical friend. Cristiano, Zlatan's voice rumbled with its characteristic confidence, still chasing ghosts in these old streets. Ronaldo's eyes sparkled with recognition and warmth. And you're still talking about yourself in third person, I see. What brings the Lion of Sweden to Madrid's forgotten corners? They fell into step together, two legends united by shared battles and mutual respect. The conversation flowed easily between them, tales of glory, the weight of expectations, the loneliness that success often brings. As they walked deeper into the suburb's maze-like streets, neither noticed how the modern streetlights gradually gave way to flickering gas lamps, how the asphalt beneath their feet became cobblestone. The mansion appeared before them like a vision from a fever dream, its Gothic architecture clawed at the darkening sky. Gargoyles perched on corners seeming to track their movement with stone eyes. Wrought iron gates hung askew, and the massive oak door stood slightly ajar, as if inviting them into its shadowy embrace. "Look at this place," Ronaldo whispered, his athlete's intuition sensing something profoundly wrong. From within the mansion's depths came a low, resonant humming, not quite human, not quite mechanical, but something far more unsettling. Zlatan stepped closer, his swagger intact despite the ominous atmosphere. "Even haunted houses fear Zlatan," he declared, though his voice carried a subtle tension that betrayed his unease. Ronaldo's competitive spirit flared. "Cowardice doesn't suit us, my friend. We've faced worse than ghosts on the pitch." The moment their feet crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind them with a finality that echoed through their souls. The temperature plummeted instantly, and a thick, unnatural mist began rising from the floorboards, carrying with it the musty scent of decades-old secrets. The interior revealed a grotesque museum of football history gone wrong. Trophy cases lined the walls, but their contents were twisted. Golden cups had turned black with tarnish, medals hung from rusted chains, and photographs showed faces that seemed to shift and writhe when viewed directly. Real Madrid crests adorned every surface, but they appeared corrupted, as if touched by some malevolent force. "This place," Ronaldo's voice caught in his throat as he recognized some of the artifacts. "These are from the early 2000s. I remember that cup we won it against Barcelona." Zlatan moved cautiously through the mist, his usually perfect balance slightly off kilter. "Something is very wrong here, my friend. These trophies, they're watching us." Indeed, every reflective surface in the room, the tarnished metals, the cracked mirrors, even the glass photo frame seemed to pulse with an inner light, creating the illusion of countless eyes following their every movement. A whisper echoed through the mansion, seeming to come from the walls themselves. It spoke in multiple languages simultaneously: Spanish, Portuguese, Swedish, English, creating a cacophony of voices that clawed at their sanity. The words were unclear, but the malevolent intent was unmistakable. Suddenly, from the deepest shadows of the mansion's grand staircase, a figure began to materialize. Tall and imposing, dressed in an ancient Real Madrid jersey so dark it seemed to absorb light itself, the entity moved with the fluid grace of a master footballer. Suddenly, from the deepest shadows of the mansion's grand staircase, a figure began to materialize. Tall and imposing, dressed in an ancient Real Madrid jersey so dark it seemed to absorb light itself, the entity moved with the fluid grace of a master footballer. But where a face should have been, there was only a void, a darkness so complete it hurt to look upon. "Who dares disturb the eternal game?" The shadow figure spoke, its voice like grinding glass mixed with the roar of 100,000 spectators. "You come seeking glory, but you will find only the price of ambition." Ronaldo and Zlatan instinctively moved closer together, their rivalry forgotten in the face of this supernatural threat. The entity continued its approach, and with each step, the mansion around them began to shift and change. The walls stretched impossibly high. The floor became a checkerboard of grass and marble, and the ceiling dissolved into a night sky filled with screaming stars. "I am the keeper of football's darkest hour," the shadow intoned, raising arms that seemed to stretch beyond physical limits. "Every match fixed, every dream crushed, every soul sold for victory, they all flow through me. And you, Legends of the Beautiful Game, will join my eternal collection. The mansion transformed completely now, becoming a nightmarish hybrid of football stadium and Gothic cathedral. The whispers from the walls grew louder, resolving into the voices of fans whose hopes had been dashed, players whose careers had been destroyed, and referees whose integrity had been bought and sold. Zlatan, true to his nature, was the first to act. Zlatan does not bow to shadows, he roared, launching himself at the dark figure with the same explosive power that had terrorized defenders across Europe. But his legendary skills meant nothing here. His body passed through the entity like mist, and he tumbled hard onto the transformed floor. Ronaldo rushed to help his friend, but the shadow was faster. Dark tendrils erupted from its form, wrapping around both legends like serpents made of living night. The touch was ice cold and burned like acid, and both men screamed as memories began flowing out of them. Every goal, every victory, every moment of pure joy on the pitch being drained away. Your achievements will fuel my eternal hunger, the entity hissed as it fed on their essence. Every Ballon d'Or, every Champions League triumph, every record broken, all will become part of my collection of beautiful suffering. But something unexpected happened. As the shadow drained their individual accomplishments, the shared memories between Ronaldo and Zlatan began to resonate and strengthen. Their rivalry, their mutual respect, their understanding of what it truly meant to push beyond human limits, these bonds proved more powerful than the entity had anticipated. Together, Ronaldo gasped, his hand finding Zlatan's despite the shadow tendrils binding them. Like we should have been all along. Zlatan's eyes blazed with understanding. Two lions are stronger than one king, he replied, gripping Ronaldo's hand with desperate strength. Even shadows cannot defeat what is truly eternal. Their combined will began to push back against the draining force. The mansion shuddered as if experiencing an earthquake, and cracks of brilliant white light appeared in the shadow entity's form. The whispers from the walls became screams of rage and fear. The entity's voice rose to a deafening shriek. Impossible! No mortal bond can resist the hunger of forgotten dreams. But even as it spoke, its form was beginning to fragment. The two legends' refusal to surrender their connection to each other and to the pure love of the game that had driven them both was unraveling the very foundation of the creature's power. Around them, the nightmare stadium began to crumble. The corrupted trophies turned to dust, the twisted photographs burst into clean flame, and the oppressive mist started to clear. The Real Madrid crests on the walls brightened, returning to their original colors as the malevolent influence was purged. With a final, earth-shaking scream, the shadow entity imploded upon itself, taking with it decades of accumulated darkness and despair. The mansion snapped back to its original form so suddenly that both men were thrown to the floor, gasping and shaking but undeniably alive. They lay there for long minutes, breathing heavily and staring at the now normal ceiling. Dust motes danced in shafts of moonlight streaming through broken windows, and the only sound was their synchronized breathing and the distant hum of city traffic. Zlatan has faced many opponents, Zlatan finally said, his voice hoarse, but touched with his familiar arrogance. But that was educational. Ronaldo laughed, actually laughed despite everything they'd endured. We make a good team when we're not trying to outdo each other, he admitted. Maybe that's the real lesson here. They helped each other to their feet, both men changed by their shared ordeal. The mansion around them was just a mansion now old, abandoned, but no longer malevolent. The door stood open, revealing the normal Madrid night beyond. As they walked back towards civilization, neither spoke of what they'd experienced. Some things were too profound, too personal to share with the world. They'd faced something that fed on individual ambition and conquest, and only by embracing their connection, their shared humanity beyond the competition, had they survived. Will you stay in Madrid? Ronaldo asked as they reached the first streetlight. Zlatan considered this. For now, Zlatan thinks the city still has lessons to teach both of us. They parted ways at the corner, but something fundamental had changed between them. They'd entered that mansion as rivals bound by respect. They emerged as brothers forged by fire. In the days that followed, neither man told anyone about their adventure. Ronaldo returned to his training with renewed purpose, while Zlatan seemed to approach every interaction with slightly less arrogance and slightly more wisdom. In the days that followed, neither man told anyone about their adventure. Ronaldo returned to his training with renewed purpose, while Zlatan seemed to approach every interaction with slightly less arrogance and slightly more wisdom. The mansion stood empty once again, but now it truly was just an old building. The darkness that had fed there for so long was gone, purged by the simple but profound realization that the greatest victories come not from defeating others, but from understanding what connects us all. And sometimes, late at night when the Madrid wind whispered through empty streets, locals swore they could hear the distant sound of laughter to friends who had found something more valuable than any trophy.